Whether it's quitting smoking, eating more healthily, cutting down on your alcohol intake, writing a book, whatever behavior you are looking to change, this video will help you figure out how to do that in 10 steps. Step 1 is put feeling first. How you feel determines what you do. And so if you have attached some positivity to the achievement of the goal, but you're going to go about achieving it in a way that makes you miserable, the likelihood is you will fail along the way. You will lose motivation, you'll lose momentum, and you just will feel like it's not worth it. A lot of us do this. A lot of us think, oh, I'll feel more confident when I've lost the weight. I'll be happy when I've made this much money, when I'm eating more healthily, or I'm drinking alcohol in moderation, or I'm not drinking at all. And so we place conditions upon ourselves, and only when we meet those conditions are we allowed to feel good. But I remember reading this in a parenting book once that said, if you want the child to do better, don't start by making them feel worse. And the same applies to ourselves. If you want yourself to do better, don't start by making yourself feel worse. So by putting feeling first, what you want to figure out is, how do I want to feel now? Like, what's the feeling I'm chasing that I'm attaching to this goal? Why can't I experience it right now? And if I can experience it right now, how? How do I build it into my efforts to achieve the goal? So if I'll be confident when I've lost the weight, how do I be confident now? What's that going to take? And how do I build the feeling of confidence into the efforts I put into achieving my goal of weight loss? This is a really, really important step, because when we attach a positive feeling to a future goal, what we actually habitually do is detach ourselves from that feeling. We place it in the future along with some condition, which denies us the ability to experience it now. And so when we get to that future condition, even if we are successful, the probability of feeling that feeling over the long term is vastly reduced. So what we get is a kind of confidence boost as we begin to lose the weight, but then we might even reach our goal weight and still we don't actually feel confident, because we've never learned how to feel it. We've never learned how to habitually drive confidence within ourselves. All we've learned is to habitually say, I'm not confident until something else happens. So put feeling first and figure out how to build the feeling you are seeking into the efforts you make while you're progressing. Step 2, determine the source of your motivation. Where is your motivation coming from? Is it coming from a place of enthusiasm, excitement, self-love, self-compassion, self-worth? Or is it coming from a place of judgment, maybe even self-hate or disgust? Is it coming from a place of lack? This step is important for 2 reasons. The first is the reason that I mentioned to you before. We do better when we feel better. And telling ourselves we're disgusting until we achieve something, or looking in the mirror and thinking, ugh, can't wait until my love handles are gone. Ugh, can't wait until my belly's gone. It's so gross. What that does is it makes us feel worse and it stresses us out. And when we feel worse and we stress out, we tend to seek comfort. We tend to want to get away from the thing that's stressing us. And if you find comfort in some of the behaviors that you're actually trying to stop, like let's say if you are trying to lose weight, but you find comfort in eating, then stressing yourself out is going to quite quickly drive you to want to comfort yourself. And this potentially is why, if you've ever experienced it, if you've ever tried to lose weight, and then you've been like, oh, I don't even care, I'm just going to eat the whole box of Maltesers because I'm so tired. And what's the difference anyway? Like, I'm never going to do it. That sort of stressy, judgment-based thought process while you're trying to do something that is pushing you beyond your current limits doesn't help you. Whereas when your motivation is coming from a place of, I deserve this, like, I deserve to be healthy, to feel good, to have energy. I'm worth the effort this takes because I love myself. I look in the mirror and I think, yeah, you're pretty cool. You're pretty wonderful. And I want to do this for myself. It's a different feeling. It's a different motivation. And so when those cravings strike, or when you feel like you want to quit, if it's a business thing about kind of getting clients or getting out and being visible on social media, if it's anything like that, having yourself feel strong, capable, resilient, confident, all of those things help you do the behavior that's actually quite difficult in the moment. The second reason that determining your motivation is so important is because if your motivation is coming from a place of self-judgment, then what tends to happen is quite soon after you begin to make progress, you feel good and the judgment goes away. But what that means is so does your motivation, because you were motivated by that stick. You were motivated by chasing yourself, being like, you are gross, you're a failure, you're not doing enough, you're lazy. All of those kinds of things, when they stop, so does the momentum. So building your motivation from a place of self-worth and self-love allows you to keep the motivation in place for the duration of however long it takes you to get to the goal. Plus, like that step one, it begins to train you for feeling good. And so your ability to feel good is no longer attached to whether or not you successfully change the behavior. You simply feel good and are doing this behavior. Step three, if your motivation is coming from a place of self-judgment, reset it. Now that requires some internal work, some reflection, some journaling, asking yourself some really powerful questions. And if you don't already have it, there's a downloadable PDF in the link below this video so that you can find access to some of those questions to help you get started. Step four, if you can't do step three on your own, get help. Making long-term behavior change requires you to be able to decode and recode your thought processes, your beliefs, your patterns. And that work can be very, very difficult to do alone. There's a good saying about this that says you can't read the label from inside the jar. And so working with a trusted friend, maybe somebody who's very intuitive, maybe somebody who really listens to you, who really understands where you're coming from, who asks you amazing questions and shows great interest in you and your progress. Somebody like that is a good person to talk to. And if you don't have somebody like that in your life, seeking out the help of a coach, a mentor, a therapist, or somebody who can help you to decode and recode your thinking can really help you make the kind of progress you need to make and be able to do steps 1, 2, and 3 so that everything else in the whole behavior change process becomes easier. Step 5 is to shape your environment. Now, most of us think that behavior change is about willpower, grit, personal strength, and it is about those things, but it's not only about those things. And for most of us, long-term behavior change doesn't happen without also making changes to the environment. Now, the environment includes everything around us, the people, places, things, culture, everything that has an influence on our thoughts, our feelings, our behaviors, what we think is possible, and how we see ourselves. All of those things are affected by our upbringing, are affected by the adverts we see, the media we're exposed to, the news we watch, the things we learn from our teachers, the workplace cultures we've experienced. All of these things come together from the past and the present to create the environmental influences that shape the decisions we make. So when you want to change behavior, changes in your environment make that easier, but only if you shape your environment so that the desired behavior that you want becomes easier. So if you took step 4 as an example and you've hired a coach or a therapist, or you're working with a friend, somebody who's guiding you and helping you figure things out, you have made an environmental change that is going to strengthen your ability to move forward and make progress more easily. But there are other things you can do as well. Now, this is a complex area and requires a video all of its own, but the basic thing is, if the things, the people around you, and the information you expose yourself to make it easier for you to do the desired behavior, you've shaped your environment very well. If the things and people and information around you make it feel more difficult, make you feel worse, take away your energy, and just sap your ability to make progress, then your environment is working against you, and you want to make changes to that so that it becomes a helpful place. If it's, let's say, quitting drinking, a really easy environmental change is to get the booze out the house. So that's a kind of obvious and concrete one. If, let's say, you run your own business and you're working from home, but you find yourself procrastinating, you go off and you do different things around the house, or you find yourself tidying your office when you've got big things to do, then a really easy environmental change is go and work in a coffee shop, or go and work in your local library, or hire a meeting space for a couple of hours and go and sit in there. Take only the things you need to get the project done and sit and do it. you'll be distraction free, and then the environment takes away the ability for you to procrastinate. And there are ways that you can make environmental changes to things like apps. So there's an app that can take away your Facebook feed, so there's nothing that you can see there, which means if your behavior is that you need to post daily on Facebook to help your marketing campaign, but every time you go on Facebook, you lose an hour because you end up scrolling all the way through your feed, then you can use an app. That's an environmental change. Take the feed away, and that gets you started doing the thing that you need to do without being distracted. Step 6 is take stock of your beliefs. All the steps that you've taken until this point will have worked together to uncover some of the beliefs you have about who you are, what you're capable of, what's possible, how big you can dream, how long it might take, how difficult it might be. All of the thoughts that you have around these areas are coming from a set of beliefs. Now, if those beliefs are helpful, they're strengthening you, they're making it possible for you to keep going, they're making you feel enthusiastic, they're helping you do your best, then those beliefs are serving you well. But if you're finding yourself stuck, you're sabotaging yourself, you're finding it hard to believe in yourself, you're worrying, and you're procrastinating, then the likelihood is the beliefs you hold are not serving you well. And it's worth exploring what they are and thinking about how to challenge them and change them. Again, this isn't easy work to do on your own. So if you are working with somebody who's helping you, this is a great time to bring in that person's help as well, so that they can take you further than you potentially can take yourself. Because where beliefs are concerned, we are often blind to the fact that they're not real. We've thought them so many times that we don't question their truth anymore. We can't even see the possibility sometimes that there's even a question of truth there. And so this is really often a point at which we have to get help. And this is one of the big things that I work with my clients on, because it's hard to do alone. I don't do this work on my own either. I also work with somebody to help me to get past some of the things, to ask me the right questions that make me go, yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way before. And it does call into question whether or not this belief is even real. Again, if at the moment you need to work on your own and you're not in a position to get the help of a professional to guide you through this part, then download the PDF that comes with this video. And there are some questions in there that will help guide you through the process of conscious belief change. If, however, you worked with me or you worked with another coach or a therapist, that trained professional would likely be able to guide you further beyond your conscious mind into the unconscious mind. And that gives you access to even more of the kind of coding behind your beliefs and helps you decode and recode so that your beliefs can actually help you drive you forward and make progress more easily. Step 7, welcome discomfort. Not just accept discomfort. That's only halfway there. This is more than just accepting that change is uncomfortable. This is about welcoming and saying, yes, I feel really uncomfortable right now. This is a good thing. With any behavior change, there will be discomfort. Your brain doesn't like it. Your body doesn't like it. Your nervous system doesn't like it. Even when it's positive, even when it's exciting, there is always an element of discomfort that comes with it. And that discomfort, for many of us, is what stops us in our tracks. Feeling scared about what might happen, having cravings, but not being able to satisfy those cravings, wondering whether anyone's going to read our blog, wondering whether our book's going to be any good, having doubts about whether the product we're creating is going to sell or succeed. All of these things create discomfort. And as you get further along, if your goal is a big one, like starting a business, there's also going to be discomfort around boredom, frustration, backtracking as you learn things and realize you've gone wrong and you've got to go back and do it again. All of those things are uncomfortable, but every single one of them indicates to you that you have made some progress. And so being able to reframe that discomfort as something that is good and that shows you, yes, I'm exactly where I need to be. I'm exactly in the right place. I'm exactly on track. Even when you have made a mistake and you have to go backwards, what that tells you is you've learned something because you hold a piece of information you didn't hold before you made that mistake. That discomfort is worth something. So your ability to welcome discomfort is a huge part of your ability to move forward. Step 8, celebrate yourself. What you're doing is awesome. However small or big the behavior change is that you are implementing, for you, it is awesome. And the fact that you are watching this video suggests that it's something that you need some help with because it is beyond your comfort zone. The fact that you are doing it requires celebration. But that's not the only thing. There is science to support the fact that when you feel rewarded and when your brain recognizes a positive experience associated with behavior change, the behavior change embeds more easily and becomes habitual more easily. There's more about this in a book called Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg. And if the behavior change that you are looking at is one that requires you to make habit changes, perhaps eating, drinking, exercise, things like that, then Tiny Habits is a great place to start. And when we come to step 9, Tiny Habits features again. But here in step 8, where celebrating yourself is the thing that we look at, what we need to understand is that habits have 3 parts. Some people say 4, but we're going to work with 3 in this video. You have the cue, the behavior, and the reward. And what makes a behavior habitual is that these things chunk together in the mind. They become part of the same whole. A bit like baking a cake. You have all the ingredients that go in. So you have the flour and the eggs and the butter, but by the time it's baked, it comes out as one whole cake. Habits embed as one whole thing. So once the cue or the trigger happens, the behavior will run automatically because the brain experiences a reward of some kind. Maybe a reduction in stress, maybe a feeling of belonging, maybe a satisfaction of hunger, whatever it is, there's some positive experience that the brain associates with the behavior. So when you're changing behavior, having it embed relies on the brain registering it as something positive. And one of the ways you can help drive that positive feeling is to celebrate yourself for doing even the tiniest thing that contributes to that behavior. That celebration might be something small. You might just be like, yes, go me. Or you might follow Mel Robbins' idea, give yourself a high five in the mirror. Or you might have a list or an app on your phone you can tick and say, yes, I did it. And feel that sensation. Like take a moment to recognize that sensation, that feeling of success, and know that you did something great. Right now, right here, you did it. You took a step, you cast a vote for the person you're becoming. And that's super cool. Every single moment that you can consciously celebrate that helps your brain rewire and set that behavior in place as something that becomes automated later on as a habit. Step 9, also from Tiny Habits, be willing to start small and be willing to return to small when you get overwhelmed. So let's say, for example, you are writing your book. And so the behavior you want to do is you want to sit down and write every single day until your book is finished. Maybe you're really ambitious. You've set yourself a deadline. You know you work better when you're under pressure. And so you've said, right, I'm giving myself 3 months. I'm writing this thing, getting it done. And so maybe you've set aside 2 or 3 hours every day to write. But now it comes time to sit down and write. And you're like, oh, Christ. Can't think of anything. I've got nothing to write. And so the idea of sitting for 2 or 3 hours is unbearable. So that day you don't write. The next day you feel the same, so you don't write again. Now you've got 2 days where you haven't written, so day 3 feels harder. Day 3 you have the inkling of an idea, but it was quite nice on days 1 and 2 where you didn't write and you enjoyed watching a TV program or doing something around the house. And so day 3 you don't write either. By day 4 it's starting to become a habit that you are not doing what you committed to. And it's much easier for that momentum to build and for you to not do the thing that you committed to. But if you start small, if you say my commitment is 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day, 1 minute a day, 1 word a day, it doesn't matter. It can be laughably small, that commitment, but you never, ever miss it. That's what keeps you going every single day. Now, if you do sit down and you write for 2 hours, fine. But that is never the commitment and that is never the requirement. And so even if you've been writing every day for 2 months, but you wake up one morning and you just think, Christ, I've got nothing to say, but you committed to 5 minutes, then you sit down for 5 minutes. Maybe you write something, maybe you don't, but you don't miss the 5 minutes. The next day, you do the 5 minutes until something sparks and you're away again. But that tiny habit has kept you going back. This isn't about tricking the mind. This is about maintaining commitment. Because one of the things that's important to understand about behaviors that become habits is they require time and they require consistency. So these big spikes where you go hell for leather, you rock up at the gym and you work out for 2 hours and you half kill yourself and then you're so stiff you can't move for 3 days, that is not going to embed a habit of exercise. That is going to embed a habit of skyrocketing and then plummeting and coming back and trying again and then stopping and trying it again and stopping and learning about yourself. I am not a person who exercises, but driving to the gym and sitting in the car park and then driving home again, or buying a set of dumbbells and doing one bicep curl, that will embed a habit over time. If every single day you do it and you never miss, eventually the habit will just naturally take root, naturally take hold, and naturally progress. And it's so much easier to do it that way. And the final step, step 10, only time travel if it's helpful. Okay, so this is a bit of a weird one, but time travel is basically where your mind goes into the past or into the future. And this is something that we all do. I'll show you. So I'm going to show you a 7-second clip and then I'll explain what I mean about time travel. Okay, so now that you've watched that, did you notice how your mind was wandering? What's the point? Where am I supposed to look? What's supposed to happen? Is something going to happen? Is somebody going to walk out of here? And your brain is constantly predicting. That's its job. So every part of our experience, every minute of the day, is using some form of prediction to understand what we're supposed to do in the moment. Our brains just naturally jump all the time, but they also jump backwards. We replay memories, we relive regrets, we experience guilt. All of those things require us to time travel into the past. Now, I call those jumps to the future and the jumps to the past time travel. And I call it that because, very much like tourists, we always come back with stuff, the souvenirs from our journey. And depending on what we did when we time traveled, where we went, and what we saw and heard and felt, that determines what we bring back into the now, whether it's helpful or unhelpful. So I want to show you that clip again, but slightly different. See what you think this time. Okay, now this time I imagine instead of paying attention to the flower in the foreground, your attention was drawn to the water. This time you thought something else was going to happen. This time you got a sense of foreboding. Now in movies, music is used to create mood and help us predict what's going to happen. So music kind of primes us and says, oh, this person might not be trustworthy. That thing might not happen the way we think it's going to happen. This could be a plot twist. That folder is important. She shouldn't have left that there. She's going to need that later. And the music cues us for understanding the story. But in our lives, our thoughts do that. And so when you're time traveling, you don't want to be playing shark music. You don't want to come back to the present with a sense of foreboding and have created a fear in yourself that's going to stop you in your tracks, or a belief about yourself that makes you think, I can't do this. Those are not helpful souvenirs from your time travels. They stop you, they break your progress, they kill your momentum. So the skill here is to learn presence, the ability to come back to the now. If your time travel isn't helping you, then bringing your attention to the present is important. Mindfulness, meditation, things like that can help. I won't go into that in this video, it's already long enough. But the other thing you can do is you can be deliberate about where you go in the future and where you go in the past. And so when behavior change is difficult for you, you might want to prepare to think, okay, when I start to procrastinate, when I start to feel bored or frustrated, when I have that feeling that I want to give up, when I have a craving that feels like it's just going to tear me apart, what do I need to think? Where do I need to drive my attention? Maybe even write those things down. Have mantras, have different things that you can refer to, have a vision board. These things can all guide you so that your time travel becomes more helpful, and the souvenirs you bring back are souvenirs that make you feel more powerful, more enthusiastic, more motivated, more interested, or just more able to get through the grind of what it is that you're doing right now and the discomfort. You remember to welcome that discomfort and frame it as the valuable experience that it is in your growth and your progression towards the thing you're doing. And bonus step 11, just keep going. If you have a day where you fail, if you have a day where you stop, get back up and keep going. And if your goal is one you find challenging, or you've gone in circles around this thing, trying to get yourself moving, but no matter how much you commit and no matter how hard you try, you keep traveling in circles and you keep having to start again. If you'd find it helpful to talk about these steps in a more tailored way, very specifically about whatever the behavior is that you are looking to change and the goals that you are looking to achieve, then in the description below, you will find a link to book a call with me. 30 to 45-minute call, during which we will focus solely on you and your goals. You'll have an opportunity to ask questions and to really understand how to put these steps into practice for yourself. I'll also share with you my BSET behavior change method, which is all about decoding the forces that come together to drive your specific behavior and your unique behavior code. And when you can decode your own behavior, you can become a powerful change maker in your life. The call is free, and I guarantee you at least one amazing light bulb moment that will give you clarity around your behavior and your goals and help you move forward much more easily. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe for more.